Roniece Weaver, thank you so much for joining me. I'm delighted to have you.
Thank you for having me.
I am so passionate about systems medicine, and I think the work that you're doing is just so pivotal to looking at nutrition from a systems lens. So I'm really excited about talking to you about your work.
Oh, we're going to have fun with the
We are.
conversation.
Before we get into it, I'd love to just kind of get a flavor of you as a person. You've done so much. You've published multiple books. You founded at least 4 organizations: Hebney Nutrition, the Fresh Stop Bus, Black Dietitians Matter, Roniece Weaver and Associates. You've worked with government agencies and the public school system. So what compels you to break new ground?
You know, I usually, as a dietitian, try to do an assessment of what's missing and how do you close the gap. When we found much success with our nutrition practice, when we look where the needs are and try to fill those gaps. And in everything that I've done as a dietitian, it was all about building bridges and closing those gaps where my competition would not look in that direction. Maybe they didn't see the need or just didn't know how. And that's a whole nother conversation that can be dealt with, is the conversation of teaching my counterparts how to do it the right way, because we all eat and live and breathe together, but addressing those health issues and you're not part of our culture and not understanding it is another bridge we need to cross.
Yeah, wow. As listening to you speak, I realized that I probably need to go even further back. You know, how is it that you came to be a dietitian? What was it that attracted you to taking this path?
Well, I'll tell you this story that I tell many of the dietetic students and interns that come into the practice. The story was about a gentleman who was diagnosed with diabetes back in the 70s. And he was admitted to the hospital. He saw a white dietitian. The hospital was not far from his home. So he and his wife and children were scared that he was not going to make it. He had an A1C of perhaps 10 or 12.
Wow.
I do know his glucose level was way above 500. But what I will tell you about this gentleman, he was frustrated because he said the dietitian took everything away from him, everything. And I saw the forms that he had, the diabetic menu that he had, and he said, I am a man of Bahamian culture, Bahamian roots, and I don't see anything on this sheet that I can eat. I'm frustrated and mad.
And how did you come to hear about him?
I'm gonna do a Kamala Harris. That man was my dad.
Wow.
He was my dad.
Wow. Okay.
And so watching Daddy go through the frustrations of everybody telling him no, I said, Daddy, we can fix this. We're gonna all jump in together and help you with this journey of wellness. And as a 16-year-old kid at the time, I realized I never ate salads because that's not what our culture was. It was rice, beans, plantains, fish, Caribbean food that I still do love.
Yeah.
And I saw none of that on her diet sheet at all. And he said, I'm not a rat. I don't want all this lettuce all day. And she kept pushing leafy greens. And so, you know, we said, there's some give and take. And I said, Daddy, you got to do it. We're going to do it with you. And that's what helped him on his wellness journey. And that's why I'm a dietitian. I saw frustration as a young child and watched how angry he was with the system.
Yeah, it sounds as if he felt helpless just looking at the advice that was given.
Right. And surprisingly, we're still having the same problem. When you are admitted to the hospital and you're already scared, you're hooked up to a bunch of items and you don't know if you're going to get out. And then you meet a dietitian who knows nothing about you, nothing about your culture, your background, your heritage, and they put a diet instruction in front of you and say, go home and eat like this. That does not work. That bedside nutrition education has to be culturally relevant and competent to get people to stick with it. And I've always found it easier to get to know them, even if it's bedside, get to know a little bit about them and tell stories. And once you tell a story, you've got some engagement going on to get them to listen to you. So if he's got a story, I'm sure I have one that I could share. How can we blend stories together that focuses on healthy eating?
Yeah, and I think that's so important. Something that you just said about, you know, what if your dad didn't have a Roniece? What if there isn't a culturally relevant dietitian?
Right.
Then people give up, and they can't, if they can't cope, they just don't do it, right? And so they don't change their eating habits, and the disease continues.
The American Diabetes Association has a great training program, and it's called What Can I Eat? And that's what most Americans ask about. What can I eat? If I saw someone at church, they tapping me on the shoulder, Roniece, can I talk to you after church? And they said, what can I eat?
That's such an important question. Yeah.
You can eat, you can't eat everything you want. I have a running joke, and it's really not a joke. I'm real serious about this. Many dietitians want you to eat a certain way all your life. And I said, you know, let's be realistic about it. We got cheat days, your wedding, your anniversary, the birth of your children, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, and your divorce. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want.
We need that comfort food in the tough times.
Right. Yeah. Right. So don't disrupt my Christmas. Don't disrupt my Thanksgiving. Don't disrupt my divorce. Let me eat what I want to eat. And if it's a whole 1 cup of ice cream, I'm going to eat it. And I always tell people, if you eat like it's Christmas every day, then we're going to have a problem.
Totally
but if
agree.
you pick 10 or 20 cheat days, you're going to be fine. Exercise, get some walking in, watch your portions. And actually you can eat what you want as long as your portions are really, really reasonable.
Yeah, I think just what you were saying about the what you do every day, that is really what matters. Because what I say is, you know, if you go out once in a while, you have something, it's not a big deal, but, you know, be careful about what you put in your home, because that's what you're going to be eating every day. So don't bring the things that are going to harm you into your home, because you're going to be eating them. And that way you make sure that it's just once in a while that you're consuming the things that might not be the best for your health.
And that's the reason why we do grocery store tours in the African-American neighborhood. We'll go to Walmart and with our wellness classes that we offer, we'll have a sign out, and believe it or not, we'll have the people from our class 10, but before you know it, you got participants in the store that's not in class.
They didn't come with you.
Joined us. Like, wait a minute, you're saying something I need to hear. Absolutely. And they joined us and listened to the grocery store tour. So it's really funny how we talk about ramen noodles, and you know what ramen noodles are?
Absolutely,
the ramen noodles. I said, listen, you want to see Jesus, keep eating that. But we got to figure out how you can make your own ramen noodles. You could go to the Asian market and buy the whole grain ramens, low sodium broths, and put a lot of vegetables in it. And you got food that will feed more people as opposed to that small 25-cent box that's going to make you have a stroke over a period of time.
Okay, when you said ramen, I thought you just meant the plain ones, but I guess that's a prepackaged product that you're talking about. Right.
It's deadly. It's deadly.
Like so much on our supermarket shelves. Yeah,
it's about 1,800 milligrams of sodium in just one dish. And that is just beyond the limit.
Totally crazy.
That's one of my pet peeves. I said I will say no to some things, and ramen noodles is and no. Make your
Absolutely.
own. As
Yeah.
opposed to
And it's so
buying it.
simple
Yeah.
too, right? So, you know,
It
there's
is.
no excuse. There's
Yeah.
no excuse.
Right.
I love your
Right.
story
And
about this. Mm.
I always tell people you should know what's in your food. And if you know what's in it, that means you've controlled the environment.
100%. I love, you know, you say on your site, read labels. And if you don't know what an ingredient is, put it back on the shelf because it's not there
Correct.
for your health, right? It's there for the
Right.
shelf life or for profit or for whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I love your story about the people joining in with the course in the health food shop, because I think it just shows people are hungry for knowledge and they want to
Yes.
learn, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And, you
They're
know, whatever opportunities we can to reach out to people, I think we need to take them, really important.
And they are very hungry for a dietitian that looks like them.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
You can take a dietitian that is from Iowa and put her in Miami, Florida, in a culture of Haitian, Caribbean, Puerto Rican, Cuban, African American, and say, help us.
Yeah. Makes no sense.
She doesn't look like
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Now, if she has integrated herself into the community and gotten to know the people and
Sure.
understand the culture and share those shared beliefs, she will be successful. But
Yeah.
if she's viewed as an outsider coming in telling us what we need to do, that procedure doesn't work.
And that's a key component of systems medicine. You cannot have a one size fits all because there are so many moving pieces. You've got to synthesize all of the components for each person and find a solution that works for them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why we've been successful with our nutrition practice. As you could see on the photos that I sent you, we were the first minority practice to put kitchens in our office and to put a nutrition resource center in a Black neighborhood where there was none. Our office is in a 32805 zip code area where it's in the middle of a food desert. And a food desert is a community where you have to go more than a mile to get to a nearest grocery store to get fresh fruits and vegetables. And unfortunately, in this particular food desert, the density of the population is not strong enough to support a full service grocery store. So you're stuck with what's the corner markets, the bodegas, and not all of them are healthy. The first thing you see when you walk in, many of them is beer, wine, and junk food, and pray that they have produce. It's not sustainable. And so some of these people become a product of their environment. And so now looking at environmental health because all they eat is fast, quick, salty, greasy foods that make their diabetes, hypertension, and blood pressures go up.
And I love
those really should not define your health.
So that's one of the reasons why there's such a high prevalence of diabetes. You mentioned your father. You've published a lot with the American Diabetes Association, right? In terms of a lot of cookbooks that are culturally relevant. So how big is the problem of diabetes in the African American community?
1 out of 3 African Americans.
Wow, that is huge. That's a huge number.
We have a huge obesity crisis across the board. It's over, last I checked, over 67% of Americans are overweight. And we're seeing white and Black people. White and Black people are living with diabetes, and not many of them are doing anything about it. And last I checked, the number is probably over 60 million people are diabetic and don't know the symptoms of diabetes and how to look for that. Diabetes is going to blow healthcare out of the water if we don't focus on changing our lifestyle. And it's just so simple to do. It's healthy eating, watching your portions, and exercise.
Yeah, it's so simple when you say it, and yet we have this crisis raging, right? But the food is so important.
Some of us eat for so many different reasons. Some of us eat for fun. but some of us are stress eaters, and
Yeah.
some people stay stressed out all day or
Mhm.
are sedentary at their jobs. I think that has contributed quite a bit to why we see so much obesity, because we're at a desk all day
Yes.
long at a
Sedentary.
computer. Yeah, and we don't get up and we don't move enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you are doing something extremely important to try to help people eat better. Aside from your work and your consultancy, you have an initiative that's bringing fresh fruits and vegetables into these areas that are food deserts. So as you said, a food desert is an area that's devoid of supermarket access to healthy food. So people have to travel for more than a mile to get to their food, right? We sadly lost bell hooks this week, and I just want to read an excerpt from one of her books where she gives us an insight into where we've come from. So it's in her book called Belonging, and in it she says, anthropologist Carol Stack offers information about Black farmers in Call to Home, African Americans Reclaim the Rural South, explaining, after the Civil War, beginning with no capital or equity of any kind, freed men began working to assemble parcels of land. By 1920, more than 900,000 Black Americans, all but a handful of them in the South, were classified as farm operators, representing about 20% of Southern farmers. 1/4 of Black farmers were true landowners, controlling a total of 15 million acres of farmland. So how on earth have we gone from that situation where Blacks have lived so closely with the land to having food deserts be the reality for many?
Well, you see, the food deserts primarily in rural areas and also inner city communities where there are more, not only food deserts, but also swamps. When you live in an inner city community that is more saturated with minority populations, you not only see a desert, the swamp are the fast food joints, the
Right.
McDonald's, the Burger King, fried chicken. And so
Right.
those are their resources for
Yeah.
food. The desert component is all driven by economics
Yeah.
and the ability for the stores place their business there. But I will tell you this, you can put a Publix, a Wegmans, a Walmart in the middle of a food desert, but if the people cannot afford to pay for the food, the stores will still go out of business. So
Is it the
that's
reality? Roniece, is it a reality that fresh food is more expensive than fast food? I challenge this because think about it. You can buy a bag of dried beans, legumes, for pennies, and that is going to last you for a long time. So I think it's a myth to say that to eat whole foods, is more expensive than fast food.
I believe that if you eat in the fast food lane, one, you're overeating to begin with.
Yes.
Some people sit down and think that a 4-piece Kentucky Fried Chicken is to feed one person, but that's half a chicken that should be able to feed multiple people in a household. So number one, I've always said, and not in a derogatory way, but if you eat less, you save money. Because you spent more than what you expected to on that. But I've always believed that fresh is best, and you can live off of fresh items and still make it fit in your budget. It's very doable, but it's knowledge and education and strategy.
Totally agree.
Teaching people how to do. Yes.
Totally agree. So do tell us about the initiative that I mentioned, the Fresh Stop Bus.
Fresh Stop Bus.
Yeah.
That's our baby. Back in 2013, I have to give Dr. Kennedy, she's a PhD registered dietitian out of Louisiana. She's African American, and I read her research paper with Pennington Research, And she was going door to door in an inner city community with dropping off $2 bags of produce.
Wow.
And she noticed that they were losing weight. So she
Fantastic.
did pre and post data on them and saw that if she could take the ice cream truck model and call it the veggie truck model, she made inroads to getting more minorities eating produce. And when I saw that article in Florida here, in the vacation capital of the world, it's 95 degrees on any given day. That's pretty hot.
Yeah.
So in the month of August, that will kill any produce that's around because of the heat. And my office is strategically, as you can see right outdoor, the city bus passes right by every 20 minutes. And I had an aha moment. And I said, you know what? It'd be nice if we could put produce on a city bus. And everybody looked at me like, Roniece, here we go again. You crazy. And I said, wait, what do we have to lose? So I called the CEO of the Transportation Authority. He was 3 miles down the street at his headquarters. And I asked him, could he meet with us? He happened to be a brother from Baltimore. So he understood the workings and mechanics of inner city issues. And he sat with us and he said, you know, I get it. He said, that's not a bad idea. You're helping me to take a bus that is getting retired off the property and you're going to repurpose it to do good.
And these buses are huge, right?
Oh, it's 40 feet long.
Wow.
Yes, massive. Massive. And he gave us the bus for $1.
Wow, that's incredible.
The hospital got wind of it with the Community Impact Council, and they, Roniece, I hear that you just got a city bus and you're going to make it a mobile farmers market. And I said, yeah, and they asked us to present our project to the council, and they gave us $375,000 and said, do it.
Well done. Well done. That is awesome.
So our bus now, she's 7 years old and she's still going out. Now she's had a baby. She's got 2 babies. So we have a 40-foot bus and 2 big vans.
That is incredible. I mean, that's just such a, first, I love your out of the box thinking, to think about, you know, repurposing a bus, you know, that just kind of shows an innovativeness, kind of, what can we do to fix the problem, kind of flexible thinking, which is awesome. And then to follow through. A lot of people say,
really love to fix problems. I'm like, yes, if we don't fix them, as African-American dietitians, if I don't try to fix them, who will? That's what God has me to do.
And it shows a can-do mind, because a lot of people will see a problem and be stuck with it, because they'll say, oh, but I don't have this or I don't have that to fix it. And it's a different mindset to saying, what can we do with what is available? Because you can always make the most of what's available.
I tell many of the dietetic students that come through our office, just dream big, because my life has been nothing but a big dream that has come true with the creation of a nutrition resource center, 4,500 square feet of building with kitchens and test kitchens and prep kitchens in the back. And then the bus is 6 cookbooks, invitations to the White House, government contracts on redoing school lunch. Dream big.
Incredible. And who did you meet at the White House? Who did you meet at the White House?
I met the First Lady, Michelle Obama.
Wow.
And she put nutrition on the map. I always tell people, never forget who you went to school with. And one of my classmates from high school worked in the Pentagon. And I sent him a press kit of all my material, the books, and he sent it to the White House. And I didn't believe he had that kind of pull.
Oh,
but he
fantastic.
did.
And you were invited.
And within 24 hours, I got a call from the White House and got invited to the opening of the gardens that the First Lady placed in her first year.
She grew a lot of vegetables, didn't she?
Oh,
yeah. That is fantastic. And again, it just shows you that you got to follow your intuition in a sense, right? You woke up one day and something said, let me send this to my old classmate, and you didn't know what was going to happen, and look what happened from that, right? That is
Right.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I also noticed in one of the things you've done is a program called Kids Take Charge, and it's a nutrition education program targeted at kids. And I just wondered, what is your experience of, for kids in a family setting, they are really beholden to their parents and the way that their parents eat. So how effective is it to what's the best way of getting change within a family? Is it to educate the kids? Is it to educate the parents? Is it to do both?
It's a little both. We do two things. With our kids program, I'm really proud of that project. Fabiola Gaines, who is my partner and been with me from the very beginning, she spearheads that project. The KIDS stands for is KYDS, Keep Your Diet Straight.
Yeah.
And Fabiola goes into the school system after school as an after school program. And we get funded for this through a variety of funders. But it's an after school program to teach children about nutrition and healthy eating. She's focused on hydroponics. And we have one of those big lettuce towers that's about 6 feet tall. Right. And she has taught this huge group of children how to grow hydroponics inside their home. And the kids are extremely fascinated with it. We want them to fall in love with eating produce as opposed to eating candy. And seeing the hydroponics grow has not only been great for STEM and science and math and chemistry, but also the nutrition component. So they're fascinated with it. And so we do that program at the Boys and Girls Club right here in Central Florida, in the middle of that same food desert. And along with that, Florida Blue, which is our insurance company, Blue Shield, they awarded us a grant to write a cookbook, not a cookbook, but a workbook for the kids program, and it's called Chew on This. So it's a 58-page book. It's absolutely gorgeous. Where it's focused on nutrition, but also mental health and also body shaming. Because so many children are bullied because they're overweight or underweight. And we just want the children to love their bodies. So the Florida Blue Foundation gave us a very, very nice grant to write this workbook. And now this book has become an after school program or a book that could go into the school systems, the science and math and wellness teachers at the school. We're so proud of it. And it's coupled with a pencil kit and a paint kit that allows the kids to do all the activities in their book.
That is fantastic.
And it really came out of one incident when Fabiola had the kids to write down how were they feeling and how do they like their bodies. And then she asked them to take their feelings, ball it up because they didn't want to know who wrote what on a paper and throw it across the room and have somebody else to read it. And one little girl said, I feel like I want to commit suicide because I'm ugly, I'm fat, and no one loves me.
Heartbreaking.
That's what really sparked us to do the book.
Yeah, that's gorgeous that something so wonderful, the program, has come from that beginning. Helping people really look at themselves differently, feel better about themselves from the inside out, right?
Well, we have also a problem here in Orlando with, and it's across the country, childhood obesity. Our children are so sedentary because they play with their cell phones so much that they don't know how to go outside and play. And it's amazing when you see a 10-year-old come into our office and they're on 4 meds because of their weight. And the mother doesn't know what to do. And it's unfortunate when I see young parents, and I also tell the grandparents immediately, it doesn't even matter what audience I'm speaking to. I tell them eating food is not a negotiation or discussion with children. There's nothing to discuss. Eat it or go to bed. as
Sure,
my
sure.
mama would say.
And we're talking about, eating your greens, because kids will eat as many
Yeah,
French fries as you give them, but it's about eating the right food, isn't it?
right. And
Yeah.
we spend way too much time watering them with the wrong items.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So important. The food is central to turning things around. Um,
It is.
And I love your mention of hydroponics. You talked about Michelle Obama's vegetable garden. So that whole area of growing food is a way that can enthuse people about eating more produce and reconnecting them with the food with fresh fruits and vegetables, because at the moment it's something you get in a supermarket. So anything you can do to bring the food that you're eating closer to home is going to energize and enthuse you about eating more fruit and vegetables.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we have so many GMOs out there that many of our kids don't even know where the food is coming from, and they didn't know that it could be grown right there in your backyard, out of a coffee can, and you could grow peppers and tomatoes and just get a whole plethora of things in a garden in the backyard.
In the kitchen. Yeah, sprouting as well, very nutritious, and anybody can sprout, right, with a glass jar. So
oh my God, I love it. I have an arrow garden at home, and I'm growing kale, onions, basil, and some herbs right now.
That is awesome. Snap. I have containers that aren't, not a very big space. And I mean, the produce that you can get is just incredible. And it makes such a difference to go out. Exactly.
Yeah.
So everybody out there, start growing your food in whatever way you can. You don't need land. You can do it in the kitchen. Definitely.
Absolutely.
So before we wrap up, I also wanted to ask you about really the state of affairs. As we've talked about, you don't necessarily need a dietitian to turn things around, because there are basics that you can implement that are going to make a difference, right? There are resources that people can access in order to sort of learn the basics about what to cut out and what to include. But definitely guidance and support from a dietitian is going to be really helpful, because it's you all are great at providing the education, providing the motivation, really talking about the practicalities. You talked about the supermarkets and going and doing these walkarounds. So that's an important part. So at the moment, there are just over, I think, 2% of dietitians who are African American. And that's just remarkable that it's so few. And that hasn't changed. It's changed very little over the past 20, 30 years. Like, what's happening? Why on earth are there so few?
The Academy missed the ball on this one in terms of getting it in our face, because I've always believed this model: if you can see it, you can be it. And if the next generation doesn't know what a dietitian is and know what it takes to become one, it's not on their radar. They see a nurse and they understand what nurses do, but if they don't see a dietitian in a community setting, they won't know to try for that career path. So we missed the ball on that all over the years. It was 2.3% when I graduated from college in 1983, and that needle has not moved much. It's 2.6. But I will congratulate the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. They're making inroads. They're talking with NOBADAN, which is the National Organization of Blacks in Dietetics and Nutrition. That is a member interest group affiliated with the Academy, and we're all in trying to help the Academy to look at diversity, equity, and inclusion in a different lens. And I will say we're moving in the right direction, but there's much more work to be done, because some people do better when they see a person of their same culture and background, and trying to get them to change those lifestyle behaviors. And it's a repeat of my dad. If they see someone that they're not familiar with, you're not going to get a lot of change.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's got to get ingrained in the community. And actually the story tells true for me too. I'm not the best at understanding the Haitian culture, but I'm smart enough to go find my colleague who speaks Creole. And I said, Jessica, come help us with the Creole family so we can all do better together.
Yeah, love that. And it's about the appropriateness, cultural appropriateness, and finding the fit and making the effort to connect with where people are, as opposed to just offering a one-stop solution.
Right. That's why I created the Black Dietitians Matter movement, because it's not to be confrontational, but it's to be a support system. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so usually if I find out about a dietitian that has passed her RD exam, I'm like, let me send you a little gift. Because Black dietitians do matter. We count and we bring a lot to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have a database of practitioners that if a member of the public wanted to find someone near them, could they connect with you, contact you?
Yes, they can reach out to the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, but Nobadan, Nobidan, has the largest group of minority dietitians listed in their database across the country. So if you write to nobadan.org, they will, on their website, they will let you know where you can find an African-American dietitian in your neighborhood.
That is a really useful resource. Thank you for sharing that. It's been illuminating and inspiring speaking with you. If anyone wants to learn more about your work, where can they find you?
Sure, they can reach us at www.ebonynutrition.org, and the spelling is HEBNI, nutrition.org. Ebony stands for Health Empowerment Through Behavioral and Nutritional Initiatives. So it's HEBNI, nutrition.org, or a phone call 407-872-1333. We're on Instagram, and we're also on Facebook as well.
Fantastic. I congratulate you for all of your work and for all the people that you're helping. Truly an inspiration. Thank you, Roniece.
Thank you so much.